This is the Killer Innovations Podcast with Phil McKinney. Keep in mind that the information and opinions expressed in this podcast are Phil's, and Phil's alone, and they don't necessarily reflect those of his past, current, or future employers. Now, here's Phil McKinney.
So you have an idea. What's next? The first step is to validate that your idea is actually worth the time, money, and energy that you're going to put into it. So to do that, there's a two-step process that I use that I wanted to share. First step is you need to validate the problem even exists. Now, I can hear a lot of you in the background going, oh my gosh, I already know the problem exists. I've had it. I've got the problem. I'm a good representative of a customer. If I've got the problem, there must be millions of other people who have the problem. Guess what? You are not a representative of your customers. You are not a good sample case, particularly if you're in the creative and innovation space. If you're thinking creatively, if you've got that innovation bent to you, you are already connecting problems to solutions way ahead of the marketplace. You may see a problem that the customer doesn't even validate or doesn't even believe the problem even exists. So you have to be on guard here a little bit that you may not be that best sample to validate that the problem exists or that your innovation is even a good one. So how do you do this? First one is validate the problem exists by testing it, getting out and talking to customers. Remember, customers don't buy products or technologies. They buy solutions to problems. And with that, they're not looking for it from some new, shiny little device or some unique piece of software or some unique service. They've got a problem. You need to deliver a solution. So you have to define the problem. Step one, frame the problem. Why is it a problem? What is it about it that's a problem or an annoyance or something that you can make go away, or a problem could be something positive. You could amplify it. So how do you frame the problem or the opportunity? And then two, define its impact. How does the problem impact the customer? What is it? Is it time? Is it money? Now, I've shared this example in the past. I'll share it again. The best example I can come up with is my mother and the microwave. When I was growing up, there were no such thing as microwaves. When the microwave first came out, my mom was not convinced that this was something that she really needed or wanted in her kitchen. But once she saw one and experienced it, she had to have it. Now, if you back up and said, went to my mom with a blank sheet of paper and asked her what device would she want in her kitchen to make her life better, she would not have come up with a microwave. Now, what was it about the microwave that became so compelling for my mom? What it was about time. She could reduce the total amount of time in the kitchen and free that time up to do something else that she was more interested in, whether that was reading, whether that was with the kids, whether that was with her friends, whatever it was. It allowed her to save time doing one action so that she could reinvest a very valuable asset of time into doing something else. So again, what is the impact to the problem? Is it a time issue where people are spending 10 hours a week doing something and your idea cut that down to 5 hours a week? Is it money? Can you save them money? Can you make them more money? Now, many cases, people are focusing on savings. This is kind of one of the blinders we have in the innovation space. Whenever we think about innovation, it's about saving time or saving money. That's not the case. You can actually create something of huge amount of value where the money cost out of pocket actually goes up significantly. Take FedEx as an example. I can mail a letter from California to New York in first-class mail, and it will typically get there in 2 days. Now, I can spend, 48 cents now is the current price for a first-class letter to go. At the same time, I can drop that letter into FedEx and have it get there in 1 day for $14. So $14 for 1 day, 48 cents for 2 days. Why am I willing to spend $14? Confidence, proof of delivery, it gets there overnight when it absolutely has to be there. All kinds of value propositions. So in this case, I can go from a 48-cent service, which people are very comfortable with, and create a $14 service that solves a problem. So again, how do you define the impact to the customer? Think about this one particularly, because this is what's going to drive what potentially the customer perceives as the value. So after you frame the problem and you've defined its impact, what do you do next? Go talk to people. Get out there and talk to people. Go through and describe how you frame the problem up. Now keep the framing of the problem brief, 2, 3, maybe 4 sentences. You want something that you can ask quickly. Do they agree that the problem exists? And then understand what's the characteristics of the people who agree that the problem exists. And then you have to go define how many people are in this category. So how do you define the people that you want to talk to? As I said earlier, you are not a good representative example of the target customer that you want to go after. So how do you go find this target? Well, I'm not big in going out and hiring a market research firm and doing demographics. This is about being quick and dirty, getting out there, getting the validation done quickly, just to kind of get a gut feel if you're on the right track or not. So what I do sometimes is I'll go down to a local Starbucks. Now, I'll go to the normal Starbucks that I normally go to, but then I'll also go to a Starbucks in a completely different town, city, or country even, find a little coffee shop, and then walk in, get my drink, look around, find some people who are maybe, reading a newspaper or just sitting quietly. I walk over, I introduce myself, ask them if they would mind 5 minutes of just chatting with them really quickly. I'm working on an idea, a new innovation, and I'd like to get their feedback. I'm just doing a little, non-scientific little survey. It's 3 questions, 5 minutes, promise no future harassment. And then you ask them and you pitch the idea. You frame the problem. Does this problem really exist? Here's how I think it impacts people with this problem. So do you agree? And then what are the characteristics? Who do you think the target customer is this? Is you, John Doe, do you believe it's a problem? And, do you mind me asking, who do you work for? And why do you think the problem exists? And is it more people like you? And what are the types of people who you think have this problem? What do they look like? And using that information, going off and talking to 10, 12, maybe 15 people, you'll get a pretty good feel that you've got the problem locked down, that you really do understand the problem, and that the problem is something that is universal, something that there are people out there that when you pitch it, they go, oh my gosh, I never noticed that. Yes, that's a problem. So again, step 1, it's about validating the problem. Step 2 is testing the innovation. Now, why am I doing these as 2 different steps is I want to get the problem validation before you jump to pitching the idea. Just get the fact out there that the problem truly does exist. And talk to enough people to get enough understanding of that problem space. Step 2 is when after you've come back, you've collected all that feedback, now you're going to go off and create a process to test the idea or test the innovation. So again, based on the input, create a quick, fake way to show the idea. Something that's very low cost, whether it's a PowerPoint slide and some graphics you get done in Photoshop. It could be, go create a flash video to demonstrate this, shoot a video, and act as if the problem really existed so people can really get an idea of your innovation and how it would actually be experienced. And again, take that, go out, talk to people. Go find people who fit the characteristics that you identified in step 1, who have the problem, and show them your innovation. Show them the PowerPoint, show them the video, show them whatever it is you have, and ask them, does this innovation address this problem that we think you have? Yes or no? It's pretty simple. 2, what would be the changes that you would recommend to better address the problem? The second question is important. Why? Because it solves what I call the blank paper paradox. The blank paper paradox is innovators going into a customer with a blank sheet of paper, whether it's a notepad or whether it's a flip chart, and you're asking for customers to come up with ideas. Customers are not a good source for ideas. They are an excellent source to reacting to ideas. So the second part, when you ask them what should be changed to this innovation to better address the problem, you solve the blank paper problem. You're giving them something to react to. You're not asking them just to kind of jump out on a blank piece of paper and just come up with the idea. What you're asking for them to do is react. Do you think this problem exists, and do you think my idea or innovation solves your problem? And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that validation. You're looking for that customer to say, yes, wow, you've nailed the problem. That's clearly a problem I have, and here's how I'm impacted by it, and here's the value that I potentially either lose or could gain with someone solving the problem. And oh, wow, your innovation really addresses the problem. It's something that, could quickly solve it and address it, and boy, I really want it. With that, now you've got that validation that says, okay, the problem exists and the innovation that you're coming up with is really good. Now, in the test of the innovation, you're going to iterate in that step 2 many times. You're going to go out, you're going to show something, and they're going to go, yes, I like that, or no, I don't like this, or boy, if it could do this, it would be a really great improvement. Step 2, you iterate. You're going to be out talking to a lot of customers. Maybe the first time out, you talk to 5 customers, you get some feedback, you go back to the office, you tweak, go find 5 more customers, come back to the office, tweak. Then when you start getting people less and less feedback and people getting more and more excited, you want to go out and talk to 10 or 15 people. You want to go out and, 1, do they continue to agree the problem exists? And 2, does your idea or innovation? The reason you want to get away from talking to friends, families, coworkers, people in the same industry, buddies you went to college with, is because in most cases, they're going to be nice to you. They're going to tell you things like, oh, hey, that's really interesting. Or, hey, no, that sounds like a cool idea. They're not going to give you the brutal honesty. Somebody who doesn't know you from Adam and you're pitching the idea, you're more likely to get the honest answer. And in many cases, what I'll do at the start of the conversation is I say, I'm looking for you to be brutal. Tell me if you hate this idea or whether you like this idea. Be brutally honest with me as to whether or not this idea is of any value to you. Now, why do we do all this? The whole purpose of going through this validation is to give you a quick and dirty way that when you're working on the kernel of an idea, and you want to make sure that before you commit, dollars, money, time, resources, personal time, whatever it is that you're going to invest in this idea, that you get some form of validation without having to go through a big, huge market study and market validation process. So again, the whole purpose of this activity is, 1, to validate the problem exists, and that your innovation with the improvements based on the feedback will solve the problem. Now, in the podcast here, I can't go into all the excruciating details of the execution process. So what I would recommend is, if you want to learn more about how to translate ideas into innovations, pick up and read the book Beyond the Obvious. It's out in hardback, ebook download, audiobook. There's an entire section in the book just focused on how to do the execution phase. How do you get from the nugget of an idea all the way through the process, and how do you launch that? And this, what I've just described in the podcast, is just a small portion of that. Thanks again for listening to the podcast. Send your comments and suggestions to me at my email address, which is feedback@philmckinney.com. There are a number of new book events that are coming up where I'll be doing book signings and talks. So check out the events calendar on philmckinney.com under Speaking in the Workshops tabs. So again, you want to look for the events calendar under Speaking and Workshops tabs at philmckinney.com. Stay up to date to get introductions and links to interesting articles. I'm posting every day, for instance, over on Twitter and Facebook on innovation and creativity. So follow us at Twitter, Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn. Just go to all the social networking services that you use and just search for Phil McKinney, all one word. Thanks again for listening. Truly do appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen to the podcast. We'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.